where news comes first. This is WECT News at 11.
And good evening, everyone. We thank you so much for watching tonight. I'm John Evans.
And I'm Daniela Henke. New at 11, Wilmington police are enforcing a new ordinance tonight involving people standing on medians in roadways. City
Council approved the ordinance Tuesday evening, keeping anyone from being on a median that is less than 6 feet wide. Now, WECT's Delaney Tarpley found out more about how police plan to enforce that new law. So, Delaney, do we know the purpose behind it yet?
Yes, John, I heard from police and a city councilman who say it's meant to keep people safe. Before, officers did not have the authority to arrest someone or move them off of the median. Now they do. From infraction to misdemeanor, that's the new consequence of standing on a median less than 6 feet wide in the city.
Because it is a danger to themselves and also the driving public.
Council passed the new median ordinance Tuesday night on a 4-to-1 vote. Councilman David Joyner says the previous punishment of an infraction did not keep people from standing in the medians. But now that it's a misdemeanor, those people can now be arrested. But he doesn't anticipate a huge increase in arrests.
My position with the Wilmington Police Department is that should be a last resort mechanism that is only used after thorough, good faith efforts to get the person to relocate to a safer median.
WPD's Captain of Patrol Division, John Misacchio, says that there are several steps officers will take before making an arrest in these cases.
The first time we would give them a verbal warning. The second time we would issue them a citation. And the third time, anything after that, we would arrest them for the charge.
Councilman Kevin Spears advocated for a different approach, especially for people who stand in the medians asking for money.
We're operating from a place of privilege because we don't have to stand in the median. We don't understand the mentality of the people that are standing here or standing in these medians.
But Joyner says the ordinance is not meant to directly reduce panhandling. He stressed that instead, it's a safety issue.
But doing it on a narrow median in a busy intersection where you have, for example, 3 lanes on either side of heavy traffic, that's not safe for the pedestrian.
Joyner also tells me that if someone complies with law enforcement the first time, doesn't violate it again in 30 days, and seeks some services for homelessness, addiction counseling, or unemployment, they cannot be convicted for a criminal offense. John, he also said from his experience as an attorney, he doesn't think someone who is arrested for standing on these medians would face a significant amount of jail time.
All right, Delaney, appreciate the update. Thanks.